We're on chapter 42 of Save Me a Seat. We just got past the point where Ravi says that it was his card which had to do with never quit. Quitting is not an option. Chapter 42, Joe. He cheated, shouts Dylan. That's why I couldn't guess it. What do leeches have to do with quitting? Would you like to come up to the front of the class and tell us how the two things are connected, Ravi? Personally, I would have been sweating bullets if Mrs. Beam made me stand up in front of everybody like that, but Ravi doesn't seem nervous at all. In fact, he looks happy. He pushes up his glasses and clears his throat like he's about to give a speech or something. I'm listening, but I'm also keeping an eye on Dylan in case he tries to mess with Ravi's leeches while he's busy giving a speech. Quitting is not an option, Ravi says. This is what my father taught me, and what his father taught him, and what I will teach my son someday too. Big deal, says Dylan. What does that have to do with leeches anyways? I told you he cheated. Shh, Miss Beam says. Go on, Ravi. Ravi pushes his glasses up. I haven't prepared anything else to say, but I could tell you a story if you like. Ravi. I rub my nose and push up my glasses. My hands are shaking a little, so I fold them together the way we were taught to do in elocution class, means speaking clearly, at Vidya Minder. For many generations, the Suryanarayanan family has worked with tea, I begin. When my grandfather was a young man, he worked in the tea plantation. His job was to protect the tea pluckers from wild animals that might be lurking nearby. I look around the room. Everyone is listening. Some are even leaning forward in their seats. I decide to bring a bit more drama into the story by adding a few details Paripa had not included in his version. Have you ever been attacked by a porcupine or a wild boar? I ask, pawing the ground with my foot. Have you ever seen a panther crouching in the grass ready to pounce, or been struck in the middle of a war between two angry elephants? Stuck in the middle of a war. I pause and look around the room for a dramatic effect. All of those years of elocution lessons are really paying off. Imagine it is the monsoon season, I say. Imagine the ground is still damp from the heavy rain. A perfect hiding place for the most dangerous creature of all. More dangerous than the porcupine or even the panther. The animal can latch onto you and bite through even the toughest flesh with its 300 razor-sharp teeth. What the heck? Says Jax. Be quiet, Caleb Burrell tells him. I want to hear about the teeth. This is no time to lose momentum, so I take a deep breath and dive back into the story. Well, my grandfather battled these tiny Draculas in disguise every day. Imagine yourself plucking tea under the hot sun, and suddenly you realize you are surrounded by a vicious swarm of black worms waiting to fix themselves on your body and drain your lifeblood out. Look, there's one behind your toes. Be careful. There's one behind your ear. Believe me when I tell you, these dreaded blood-sucking leeches can even crawl up your nostril. Ooh. Just as my tale is beginning to its climax, I am surrounded by a loud choking sound. A moment later, the air is filled with a horrible smell. Check it out, shouts Dylan Sam Ream. Emily Mooney just blew chunks. Oh no. Apparently, all that stuff about giant blood-sucking leeches climbing up your nose got to Emily, and she barfed up her breakfast. Oh, poor thing. Kids are running around screaming. Dylan is laughing. Emily is bawling, and Mrs. Beam is calling the office to tell them to send the custodian down to room 506, quick with a mop. I feel bad for Ravi. He was having such a good time up there telling his story, and now all anybody can think about is Emily's barf. Mrs. Frost was right. It must be really hard coming all the way from India to New Jersey, especially when you have to deal with somebody calling you names and stealing your mechanical pencils, not to mention hitting you on purpose with a softball. I look at that beautiful blue double peanut M&M sitting in the bowl in front of me, and whoop, zoop, sloop. All of a sudden, I get this great idea. Let's keep going. Chapter 45. The smell of the vomit is overpowering. Girls are screaming, Emily Mooney is crying, and Dylan Sam Ream is laughing his head off. Mrs. Beam tells me to return to my seat. Then she asks us to take out our copies of Bud Not Buddy. We'll go to the library and read until the custodian has had a chance to clean up. When we return, we can continue with our game. Poor Curryhead, says Dylan as I take my seat. His speech was so bad the audience puked. I ignore him and pull out my copy of Bud Not Buddy. That's when I noticed a folded up scrap of paper lying on the desk beside the jar of leeches. I unfolded it and read, "Beware, do not touch the jar, trust me, Joe." It has been a day full of surprises, and it seems there will be one more. So, he's got a friend in Joe. That was Ravi telling that when he sat down. He's telling his new friend, Ravi, don't touch the jar. Somebody must have messed with it. We'll find out what it's all about. Until next time.